Hi, my name is Mozam Khan and I'm the group leader of this presentation. I have three other members, Asad Zarif, Sheha, and Tanveer Ahmad. So our topic of presentation is examination, analysis, and provision of the suitable solution for the issue faced by the supermarket industry due to the Russian and Ukraine conflict. So our content is introduction, context of the issues faced by the supermarket industry, data and data analysis, conclusion and recommendation. Introduction. Selection of the case study. Selected case study for the further analysis is case study number CS19A supply chain. A case study highlights the issues faced by the supermarket industry due to the Ukraine and Russia conflict. Issues faced by the supermarket industry due to the Russian-Ukraine conflict. Disruption in the delivery and supply chain of the food products, blocked ports, limited transportation, and increase in prices. Theories and the framework used for analysis. For our crisis management theory to determine the readiness of the supermarket industry, SWOT analysis for the analysis of strength and vulnerability of the industry and significance, assist executive management for the supermarket companies to deal with the supply chain disruption analysis, analyze the impact of the international events such as regional conflicts or wars on a supply chain, national and international industries. So the context of the issues faced by the supermarket, demand of the food products from the Russia and Ukraine, supermarkets have emerged as the world leading source of the food supply. Ukraine and Russia are amongst the world biggest suppliers of the staple foods such as vegetable oils and wheat. Supply chain disruption. The Russia-Ukraine conflict increased the potential of the global supply chain disruption. Supply chain disruption of the vital food and fertilizer export from the both countries impacted the food and supermarket industry. Increase in the food prices. Food price in the UK had risen by an unexpected 10.6% as the Russia-Ukraine conflict drives up the price. The war in the Ukraine has increased food supply chain challenges mainly due to the increasing fertilizers, livestock feed, and energy prices. So, impact of the international conflicts. International conflicts pose a threat to the lives, infrastructure, and transportation networks. Military conflicts have substantial effects for the Mediterranean industry, including the port closure and the high risk of the movement. So these are the four risks. So increase in the food prices after Russia-Ukraine war, as per the statistics. So you can see in the graph, we mentioned two different colors, the green, the blue, and the red one. So we mentioned all the products which is produced by the Russian and the Ukrainian. So increased by the food prices, according to the UN, the amount of the people experience severe shortage of the food increased from 135 million people to 265 million after the conflict. Need for the alternatives to avoid supply chain disruptions, maintain the food prices and the food security, encouraging additional sources and supplies to avoid monopolistic circumstances and to guarantee different sources that can maintain food costs and availability, and the need of the avoiding supply chain vulnerability and the shocks. Supermarket avoided supply chain disruption by forming warehouses for their inventory management, diversifying their suppliers. For instance, care for warehouses in the UAE, significant strategic distribution strategy. All the hypermarkets and his individual warehouse, this assistance granting there is a steady flow of the products and decrease the risk of the shortage. Need of the avoiding supply chain vulnerability using advanced technology by taking sufficient measures and alternative options such as advanced technologies for the management of the food supply, logistic and delivery. The threat of the supply chain vulnerabilities and financial losses can be prevented. Data and data analysis. So the data source to elevate issues faced by the supermarket industry and potential solution for avoiding supply chain disruption due to the international conflict. Different data sources has been used in this applied research. So the data source reports and articles from the new organization, reports and articles published by the organization like United Nations, World Bank, IMF, and the and companies. So the published research and articles, peer-reviewed research articles published in reputed journals. So new articles and magazines, articles from the reputed outlets, new articles and magazines, articles such as from the Forbes and also used as a data source.
Now, we have theoretical framework for crisis management theory, Tong and Zhang in 2019. Firstly, we have reduction. Supermarket have risk management strategies to reduce the impact of international conflicts with alternative solutions and routes of supply chain operation. The Russia-Ukraine conflicts pushed energy costs skyrocketing and the subsequent shortage of raw materials and basic food commodities due to transportation, block ports and logistic issues. Secondly, we have readiness. Food markets across Europe were not prepared to deal with sudden distribution because block dates of ports and transportation due to Russia-Ukraine war. Crude prices in Europe and around the world have risen, as have production expenses as well as transportation and energy costs. Thirdly, we have response. Supermarkets responding to this crisis by forming strategies, partnership with local and non-conflict regions suppliers and adjusted region suppliers adjusted the price of commodities as per the financial circumstances. And lastly, we have recovery. A better private label capacity can help retail stores remain appealing while customers are trading down as well as throughout the recovery period. Supply chain operations are being relocated from war regions to regional and peaceful regions. Next. Now we have swap analysis. Firstly, we have strength, extensive variety of products and commodities, use of digital platforms and e-commerce by supermarkets. Secondly, we have opportunities, shift to domestic suppliers and in-house of growth of food products, introduce advanced technologies to maintain inventory and warehouse of reservation of supplies. Thirdly, we have weaknesses, high reliance on suppliers for specific reason, Ukraine and Russia, fluctuations in performance due to international conflicts and pandemic. Lastly, we have threats, financial losses associated with distribution supply of materials, increase in prices and declining consumers purchasing power. Next. Now we have the issues faced by supermarket industry. Firstly, we have blockages at the ports and routes cause delays, limited options for transportation, increase in cost of supply chain operation, and price hikes and financial implications. Based on analysis, these are the potential issues that supermarket industry can face due to international conflicts like Russia and Ukraine war. And last, impact of issues supply chain of supermarket industry. Firstly, we have block ports and routes caused delays. The war between Russia and Ukraine badly affected sea shipping and the flies. Russian soldiers blocked off shipment lines and logistical companies ceased their services. And secondly, we have the limited options for transportation. Western economics limitations on Russia resulted in a shift from railroad to ship transportation, putting extra pressure. Let's reduce the transportation options for suppliers and cost extra distances charges for supermarket. Increase in costs of supply chain operation. The international conflicts supply chain issues with companies forced to manage sanctions that ethical concerns, shipping distance, transportation time, and the price of all significantly increase. This put burden on companies and their shareholders. Lastly, we have the price hikes of products and financial implications for customers. In 2022, the shipping industry nearly came to half, forcing global food costs to skyrocket and making it difficult for consumers to buy the food products at a reasonable prices.
Okay, so now let's discuss how Ukraine crisis has affected food imports worldwide and the impact on supply chain of supermarket industry. The map from Statista 2022 shows the percentage of food imports per country affected by export restrictions due to the crisis. Countries in Europe, Africa, and Middle East and North America have faced significant supply chain disruptions. So key issues include Sanctions on Russia and the halt of food product imports from Ukraine have led to the severe shortage. The second issue is that our 20 countries have experienced a significant hike in prices due to the restricted access to essential food products. The third most affected areas where our 40% of food imports have been impacted lastly. This has led to the rising cost, food inflation, and increased financial strain on both businesses and customers. So this data highlights how globally supply chain crisis has been aggravated by geopolitical conflict, making it difficult for supermarket to maintain steady supplies. In this next slide, I will discuss potential solutions for supply chain resilience to mitigate disruptions and enhance stability in supermarket industry. Key strategies are also highlighted, which include key strategies which are strategies like diversification of suppliers, in which one can reduce dependency on a single supplier by sourcing products from multiple suppliers. This ensures that sourcing products from multiple suppliers mm, uh, can make a supply chain continuity, and even if one supplier fails in case of predictive data analytics in supply chain, so company can benefit by using predictive analytics to forecast demand in fluctuation, identify risks, and optimize inventory management. So this improves efficiency and reduce the chances of stockouts in case of alternative supplier through supply chain mapping. So a company can analyze and map alternative supplier in different regions. This allow me to quickly shift sourcing in case of disruptions, maintaining a steady supply. Lastly, introduction of backup inventory and warehouses can strengthen supply chain resilience by keeping backup stock and strategically placing warehouses. This help to avoid shortage and ensure uh, business continuity during crisis. So, in the next slide, I will evaluate two key solutions to avoid supply chain disruption, which first is a diversification of supplier and introduction of backup into inventory and warehouses. Diversification of suppliers by dividing orders across various suppliers can reduce the risk of disruptions caused by international conflict or supply chain breakdown. This strategy ensures a steady flow of goods even if one supplier fails. To further minimize risk, I can adopt a demand management approach that aligns with the available supply. For example, Johnson and Johnson successfully implemented global supply diversification to maintain supply chain stability and supplier quality. Introduction of backup inventory and warehouse backup inventories and warehouses act as a buffer during supply chain disruption, protecting against unpredictable changes in demand by and supply. They also reduce risks related to the market uncertainties and manufacturing delays. by ensuring that buffer inventory is readily available. So, in next is the evaluation of solution to avoid supply chain disruption. In this, I will discuss two key solutions to avoid supply chain disruption, like alternative supplier using supply chain mapping and predictive data analytics in supply chain. So, in alternative supplier using supply chain mappings, in this solution, supply chain managers in supermarkets should assess the just-in-time strategy. Significant efforts have been made in nurturing, seeking alternative supplier, and accumulating buffer supplies using supply chain mapping. These maps help create a validate pool for a potential supplier, providing businesses with flexibility and agility in case of disruption. So, second one is the predictive data analytics in supply chain. And this predictive and analytics combines qualitative and quantitative techniques to forecast past and future supply demand, and storage needs, expenses, and service standards. This approach helps improve supply chain design and competitiveness by forecasting historical and future integration levels in business processes. So, next colleague, please.
Hi, this is Asad Zarif here. And now let me start from the long-term outlook for supermarket industry. Constant risks of the supply chain disruptions. Supply chain disruptions are usually expected to happen as the demand for the specific item decreases or increases in the supermarket industry. So as you know, increase in use of the innovative technologies such as the supply chains are becoming the agile and automated in increased use of innovative technologies to deal with the uncertain situations efficiently, like AL, ML, and the blockchain. So meanwhile, the supply resilience in the face of the international and the global conflicts. Supermarkets are improving resilience of their supply chain using the alternative and improved supply chain options, and supply chains are becoming the more resilient and the transparent, as you see in the 2022. So next coming here, the recommendations. First, we have the regional and the nearby supplier groups should be formed to avoid the bottlenecks of the shipping via sea, air, and the long distances. Use of innovative technologies such as data analytics should be explored by the supermarkets to predict the disruptions and prepare themselves. Adequate risk management strategy for the supply chain management should be implemented for the assessing and managing risks. So meanwhile, we have the prices of the products can be controlled by maintaining the inventory stocks and avoiding the storage of the food products. In the other words, you can say that integrates agile the supply chains of the processes to make supply chains the flexible and the transparent. Now we have the final conclusions. Here is Russia-Ukraine conflict has significantly impacted the supply chain of the supermarket industry and caused serious issues. Now we have the supermarket companies face shortages of the food due to the halt of the deliveries from the Ukraine and Russia that led to the increase in prices and the delays of the deliveries. International conflicts can disrupt the supply chain by the blocking and limiting transportation routes. So the other words, we have the companies of the supermarket industry needs to adopt the alternate suppliers such as the religious suppliers to manage the supply chain disruptions. Use of AI, data analytics, and the blockchain can transform the supply chains of the industry and make supply chains resilient and agile. The final, we have the references you can see at the end. And this was the final conclusion from my side. And thank you very much. Thank you all of these. That's it from my side. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, guys, for your support.